Frankie on a Friday. Let's talk about the first 10 games, Frankie. Did they fall short, meet, or exceed your expectations?
Fellas, great to be back for this Friday afternoon.
Great to
talking
have
to
you.
you guys. Yeah, it's an honor. Honestly, when I looked at the opening 10-game slate, my prediction was 3-7. So when you look at the fact that they're 4-6, and there are two games there, looking at Miami and Golden State, I don't want to say they would have had both if the NBA officials hadn't made those whoopsies, but I feel pretty confident that these guys are, I don't want to say the real deal, but it kind of comes down to a game like tonight. It's a game that on paper they should win. The Sacramento Kings should beat a reeling Los Angeles Lakers team, especially one that is without LeBron James, that could be without Anthony Davis. So it comes down to winning those games that you should win. They beat a team like Orlando. It was a tough one, of course, but they come away with that one. It's about stealing those games in that category, and the Lakers are kind of in that lower echelon of the league right now. They're flirting with the last spot in the West. So I'm not impressed, but I'm content with a 4-6 start.
Is there anything, not to be the negative guy on the show, but is there anything about these first 10 games that you look at and you go, I don't know if that's real?
No, I mean, I think the biggest storylines here have been Darren Fox. I think that's very real. We've been seeing this version of Darren Fox since last year, so I believe that he can be this player, an all-star level player. Sabonis, you know what you're going to get from him when you acquired him in that big deal mid-season. He's playing like an all-star as well. He's one of the only players in the league, I believe, that's averaging a double-double and 5 or more assists. So that's something that it's hard to replicate and put in that lineup. But as far as concerns go, or things that I don't know if it will last and things that it kind of need to fix, it comes down to the length. I think we talked about it last week that they need more length, and against a team like Orlando, they come away and they sneak that game out. But you saw it against Cleveland, another game, and of course the Kings had their best game of the season, and if they don't play perfect, they probably lose that game. And it comes down to the length. They have Chimezie Metu playing backup center right now. Rashawn Holmes is out of the rotation. Trey Lyles has been a good piece off the bench, but they need that one more, I'd say 6'8", 6'10", big off the bench that can kind of come in and plug those holes.
Frankie Cartoscelli with us. Frankie, is it too early to say that we're seeing a culture shift here in Sacramento?
I think it's pretty. I would say so. No, not early. I'd say we are seeing a culture shift. I think that again, I hate to say it comes down to winning games like tonight again, and just repeat myself, but that seems like it's trending that way. And a game like tonight will be a very good temperature check. The Kings have kind of pulled the rug from underneath the fan base a couple of times when things seem like they're going really well and they're about to turn that corner and things seem like they're finally changing and we're on the way to the postseason. And then all of a sudden they drop a game where a team is missing half their lineup. And that's a game kind of like we're seeing tonight. But I think that when you see how the guys have responded to this new coaching staff, the way they've responded to a rough start, and how nobody in that locker room was panicked, and notably Mike Brown comes out after the 0-4 start and faces the media and says, no, I feel good about where we are right now. I feel good and think we're very close to breaking through. And they won 4 of 6, and they could have very realistically won 5 or 6 of the last 6. So that's something I have not seen in recent memory, especially while covering the team the past 3 years, and it has me feeling good.
I looked at the first 10 games of this schedule, and I think everybody did and went, oh, my God. And then you thought you could breathe after the first 10 games, but now you look at the next 10, and you see the Warriors, you got the Grizzlies, the Celtics, the Suns. There's some tests coming up in the next 10 games. Are we looking at another stretch here where we're saying get out of this with 3 or 4 wins and we're happy?
I think that's kind of the mentality that we had. That's the old Kings mentality, right? That's the mentality that we're kind of conditioned to have. Let's just sneak 2 or 3 out of this and just kind of keep our heads above water. This group, I feel like they're saying, hey, let's get 5 or 6 of these next 10. We don't care who's coming in every night, and that's kind of the mentality these guys have. They beat a Cleveland Cavaliers team where we're sitting at the media table, me, Chris Watkins, a couple of our conference, and they're saying, oh, maybe the Kings, this is the game they lose by 20. Maybe this is the night they finally have that big blowout loss. And that just hasn't been the case. Their point differential, they're 8th best in the Western Conference. They're just minus 1.2 points. And that's something that I find incredible when you look at the teams they have played so far. And I know the Warriors are not the Golden State Warriors that we're all accustomed to seeing. And we're going to see them one more time on Sunday afternoon at Golden One Center. But I think when you look at who's coming up, it's a tough slate for sure. But this team has proven that they can hang with those teams and they can even beat them.
Frankie Cartoscelli from SactownSports.com is with us here. He's on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Frankie, how much has inserting Trey Lyles into the rotation changed the impact of this bench?
It's been huge. And the fact that Malik Monk's also picking up, he struggled the first couple of games, and he's been incredible off the bench. But when you add in the fact that you have someone like Trey Lyles, who was so big for the Kings last year, and they were in that late chase for a play-in spot. Of course, they fell short, but Trey Lyles slid into a starting lineup spot at the time and just really kind of earned his stay here in Sacramento. They were easily going to pick up that $2 million option, but he's a stretch four, and the Kings need scoring off the bench. And his defense, even we've seen him pick up a couple of clutch blocks there and some stops down the stretch against Cleveland. And I think that he's somebody that the team really likes, Mike Brown really likes, and he's going to keep getting shots here, especially in the lineup with Malik Monk, who's kind of been a distributor in that second unit and been able to find guys like Trey Lyles. And that's something that Malik said following the win against Cleveland. He said that when he's on the floor, opposing defenses, they pay attention to him. And that kind of gives guys like Trey Lyles a little bit of room to work with, and he's produced so far.
More surprising through the first 10 games, Malik Monk or Kevin Harter?
I'm going to say Kevin Harter, because Malik Monk, I think, he proved himself last year. Last year was his coming out year as far as he has arrived. He was kind of a fringe rotation guy / not really living up to the expectations in Charlotte. And he comes out in Los Angeles last year and earns his big contract with the Kings. He's playing like he earns every dollar of that contract right now. Kevin Harter is the guy who was kind of the 4th, 5th option in Atlanta. I wouldn't say he was a forgotten aspect of that team. He earned a contract as well, a 4-year, I think it was $65 million deal. He's someone who is coming into his own as an NBA player right now. He's only 24, under contract 4 more years with this Kings team. He's showing he can create off the dribble. He's a knockdown threat. I think he's one of the better pull-up jump shooters in the NBA right now. I think I saw a statistic that he's made 50% of his pull-up threes. That's notable to me, and that's something I wasn't really expecting. I think a lot of us were expecting Kevin Harter to come in and just be a spot-up only shooter, but that hasn't been the case. So I'm going to go with Kevin Harter right now.
Frankie Cartoscelli with us. Just a couple more for you, Frankie. How do you explain, or can you explain, the Keegan Murray home road split so far this year?
Yeah, it's not really an easy thing to explain. I mean, I know that he's been dealing with some personal stuff, and that kind of popped up during the road trip. And, the Kings, they played a majority of their road games thus far over the past week and a half while that really has been going on. So I think it's something that we need a little more time to see develop. I mean, obviously, you would imagine that somebody coming in as a rookie is going to play better with his home crowd behind him, but Keegan Murray, he's very stoic, and I don't think he is bothered by any road, like any opposing fan bases or any opposing crowds, anything like that. I don't think he cares about any of those things. So I think it just kind of comes down to Keegan. He's a human being going through a tough time. It seems like he's coming out of that, and he had a good game against the Cavaliers on Wednesday night. And it's something to kind of keep an eye on as we go forward, sure. But, I mean, I think we all know Keegan Murray. He's capable of playing in any environment.
When the Kings have been playing at their best through these first 10 games, how much space do you think there is between that and what their ceiling is of what they could be this season?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out still, but I've been waiting for that game where you think, wow, they just looked really, really horrible tonight. And even when they have a bad quarter, they always follow it up with a good quarter. I mean, they had I'd say the worst finish they had was in the first game of the year against the Trailblazers. They had a horrible finish. And you can look at even a game like the Golden State game on Monday. They, of course, got outscored late, but Steph Curry is a freak of nature and almost had 50 points. And there's not much you can do about that. I mean, Steph Curry's been a problem for the entire NBA for over a decade now. So I do think that their ceiling is higher than where they are right now. And that might be me being a little positive and a little optimistic, but I do feel very confident that this team has the ability to be there in that top 10 in the Western Conference. It just comes down to, again, a game like tonight. I can't emphasize it enough. It's so important to just have them nip that in the bud right now, win a game that you should win against the Lakers on the road, mind you. It just would really kind of inject that energy into the fan base as well. I know that it would inject it into the locker room for sure, but got to take care of business in games like these.
One word answer, Malik Monk against the Lakers tonight. He's got a point to prove. Over under 15.5 shots.
Oh, over. He's letting it fly. If they get up big late, we're going to see Malik go. He's going to go. I mean, it's going to be a lot. So let's get to that point.
All right, Frankie. We'll see you soon, buddy. Thanks. I appreciate you.